May the words of my lips and the meditations of all our hearts be pleasing to you, O God, our strength and our Redeemer. Amen. It's Thanksgiving weekend, but it's a different Thanksgiving than many of us are used to experiencing. With the surge in cases in Ontario, we've been asked to reduce our social bubbles and to stick with our households and essential helpers, which means that many people will be eating their Thanksgiving meals alone or thinking about the loved ones that they miss. I also know that in our community we've had many loved ones die this year, parents, siblings, friends, spouses, and in this time of celebration their absence will be even more keenly felt. On the news and in our conversations, in our hearts, there's so much pain and distress, and for many of us gratitude is hard to practice, and Thanksgiving almost impossible to proclaim. Yet this week as I was scrolling through Facebook, I came across a post by a member of our congregation who said, "I'm not letting this pandemic overshadow my gratitude and thanks for all of the wonderful things in my life." And I was really happy to see that because there's something incredibly powerful about choosing and naming gratitude. Gratitude isn't only a response to good fortune, it's also a choice that we make in good times and in bad. It's a choice that we heard about in today's gospel. In the story of Jesus and the lepers, 10 people were healed. And I'm sure that the healing meant a great deal to all of them. I can imagine that they experienced a rush of emotion. Some may have been anxious about their new status in society. Some may have been overjoyed and subsequently run off to celebrate. It could be that others went to tell their friends and family about what had happened so that they could be welcomed back into the fold after being ostracized for many years. We don't really know what they were feeling or going through. What we do know is that one of them not only felt grateful, but decided to actually name that feeling and express his gratitude to Jesus. Feeling thankful is a natural response to the blessings of life, but gratitude is a choice to see those blessings, name them, and express those feelings in word and action. When we make the choice to express our gratitude, we affect the people around us and shape the reality in which we live. Right now, there are many different emotions that we could choose to express. There are reasons for gratitude, but there are also reasons for anger, regret, fear, frustration, despair, and grief. I can't think of a single year that's given us more grounds to express those kinds of negative emotions. And all of those feelings shape our experience. Of course, they all have a place in our emotional spectrum for good reason. They help us to process events and propel us into our next steps, but the more we remain mired in those particular expressions, the more we give them power in our lives. This weekend, I hope we can all be reminded that we can choose what we express. When confronted by anger in others, we can choose to respond in kind with an anger that offers us some satisfaction and self-protection, or we could choose empathy, which is harder, and try to come to some understanding of the other person. We could even, if we really tried, find a reason to be grateful that we have the opportunities to engage with others and hear about the truth as they know it. When we first shut down, so many of us had our work and social situations change in an instant. And while we were able to express our lament and frustration, many people also chose to move forward and to find new and innovative ways to interact, to work, and socialize. And as a result, we could all express some gratitude that we had learned so much about what was possible through the shutdown and isolation. When after 4 weeks, my kids started to really miss their friends, teachers, school, and other programs, we shared our feelings of disappointment and sadness, but then chose to reframe our experience and find ways to look forward to how we were going to tell the next generation about this surreal time in history. We started to chronicle our day-to-day lives, the funny things that we did as a family to stay entertained, the wonderful times we had walking in the Denny Forest, and the joy that we felt at finally being able to see some friends and family when our bubble expanded. We practiced what we'd say to our children and grandchildren about 2020, and it made everything a little less difficult, and there was actually a lot to be grateful for. These are choices, and I'm not going to pretend they're easy choices. They aren't. Sometimes they're the hardest choices to make because other emotions are so strong and a lot more satisfying in the moment. But choosing gratitude will always bring us through to the life-giving side of our experiences. Even 2 years ago, as my sister was dying, arguably the hardest time of my life, I spent a lot of time searching for the light in the midst of that darkness. I could name some good and holy things that were happening. I was thankful that I had a chance to hold her hand through the night. I was grateful to know that so many people loved her and were praying for her. I had friends and family who offered to help us with food and childcare so that we could be with her. I had a wonderful church family who rallied to help us with the funeral and other arrangements. And of course, I knew that God was surrounding us all with love and had promised that death is not the end, but that there is always life in the presence of God. And today, when people stop me on the street to tell me that they had Beth as a teacher or that she influenced them in some way, I do feel pangs of loss and sadness, but mostly I'm so grateful that people remember her and talk about her and share their happy experiences with me. I still feel sad and angry and lonely when I think about the fact that she's not here anymore. But the act of naming what I'm thankful for and recognizing the many blessings within that difficult time has healed me of so much grief and pain. It's a different kind of healing to that of the leper, but I'm grateful to be healed, and I will take every opportunity to express it. I know that everything is hard right now, and gratitude seems like a tall order beyond the reach of mere mortals, available only to a few special and strong individuals. But it's actually a practice that, when done over time, starts to come more and more easily and develops into a habit. Someone once told me that a trick to developing the habit was to answer the question, "How are you?" Not with "I'm fine" or "I'm okay," but with "I'm grateful." It's a way to reframe our lives and experiences and remind ourselves that we have this choice. I know that there are circumstances that make gratitude extremely difficult, and I don't expect us to express all gratitude all the time, but perhaps we can start with one small practice and add on to it as we grow. Gratitude isn't a command, it's an invitation that God extends to us time and time again. God's love and God's blessings always find their way to us, even in the most troubling times. And I pray that we will see them, feel them, and give praise to God for all the goodness that surrounds us. Amen.